rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before we begin this short talk, inshallah, and we hope to keep it short because of other responsibilities at the masjid, we say, فَقَدَّرَ اللَّهُ مَا شَاءَ وَفَعَلَ. Unfortunately, Sheikh Khalid, he couldn't be reached. And when I asked Ammar what was the talk that he wanted me to do, he said, you can do whatever you want. This was the other day. So I said, okay, I'll do it on the importance of the Arabic language. He said that Sheikh Khalid Raddadi was supposed to do it on the importance of the Arabic language. So I didn't come prepared to speak about the importance of the Arabic language, but since the Sheikh we didn't get him, it was decreed that Allah didn't allow us to get him, then inshallah I'll present something on the Arabic language and how to approach studying the Arabic language, inshallah. Because this is being presented by an Arabic institute here in Philadelphia, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make them successful in disseminating the knowledge of the Arabic language to the people so that they may get closer to Allah, because the Arabic language, and this is the most important point that we wanted to make, the Arabic language should not be the goal. It should not be the goal, it should be the means to the goal. And the goal is to be able to worship Allah and understand what Allah is saying in His book. According to the scholars of Islam and the scholars of the Arabic language is a Semitic language. It is a Semitic language. And for those who don't know what Semitic means, and Allah knows best, Semitic means those languages that primarily come from the Middle East. Primarily, in general, a general definition could be any of those languages that come from the Middle East. Like for instance, Syriac. Like for instance, Aramaic. Like for instance, Amharic. Like for instance, Hebrew. And Arabic is one of those languages. And the scholars of Islam, more specifically the scholars of linguistics, or the language of Arabic, they say that Arabic has in its origin geographically the area of Yemen. Yemen, in the strongest opinion, the scholars of language, specifically with Arabic, that the home and the origin of the Arabic language is Yemen. And then from there it spread. And when we look at the narrations that talk about the Arabic language and the Arabs, if we go back and look at those books written by the Muslim writers, and more specifically the Arab writers, and even the Orientalist writers, those who are called Mustashfiqun, we find that this is the case. This seems to be the strongest opinion, that the Arabic language and the Arabs, the origin of them is Yemen. If we look at some of the narrations, like for instance the hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, where the narrator, the Rawi, whom I remember inshallah, and Allah knows best, is Ibn Abbas. Inshallah ta'ala is Ibn Abbas. Where he said that the Prophet ﷺ in the hadith is a very lengthy hadith. It's a very lengthy hadith in Sahih Bukhari, where he said that the Prophet Ibrahim ﷺ took his wife Hajar and his young son Ismail ﷺ, and he left them in Mecca. And at that time, Mecca, there were no people, and there was no cultivation, no vegetation, anything there for them. And he left his wife there with a water skin and some dates. Some of us probably remember this narration. A water skin and some dates. And so when he was about to walk away to go to the foundation of the Kaaba, he walked away from his wife, and his small child, she asked him, "Where are you going?" And he didn't answer. She asked him a second time, "Where are you going?" He didn't answer her. She asked him a third time, "Aina tadhhab?" Where are you going? He didn't answer. Then she said, "Allahu amaraka bihada?" Did Allah order you to do this? And since we're doing this talk on the Arabic language, and we find this in the Quran, some places in the Quran. Here, for those who are at Markaz al-Bayan or studying Arabic, wherever you're studying Arabic, barakallahu fikum, you don't find the ismul istifham, the particle or the noun of interrogation or asking the question. You don't find hel. Helillahu amaraka bihada. It wasn't Allah that ordered you to do this, and nor do you find Allahu amaraka bihada with the hamza istifham, but rather you find it with a madda. Allahu amaraka bihada. Did Allah order you to do this? And then Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, he said, Naam. He said, yes. And then she said, then Allah will never forsake his servants. Allah will never forsake his servants. And he left his wife and his child there. And then the story continues in the hadith, where it shows that Ismail grew up. He grew up. And when he grew up and became a man came to the door, knocking on the door. And his wife that Ismail had married was asked by that elderly man, "Where's your husband? Where's your husband?" And she said, "He's out getting our livelihood. He's out getting the things that we need, the food and the things that we need." And he asked her a series of questions, 2 or 3 more questions. And then when he returned, before he left, he said to her, "Tell your husband I said change the gate to the door, the threshold of his door, or the threshold of the door to his gate." And so when Ismail came back, he said, "I sensed that you had a visitor." "What did he tell you? Who was it?" She said, "It was an old man." An old man. All the way to the end of the story. The point that we wanted to make is that woman that he married was from a tribe called Jurhum. The tribe of Jurhum. And when you go back to the explanation of that hadith, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani al-Hafiz, he says that tribe was from Yemen. And the origin of those people from Yemen, some people say, was from Al-Habasha, from now called Ethiopia. Some people say that. And this is where the scholars differ with regards to the Arabic language. Did Arabic come from originally Ethiopia to Yemen, or did it come from Yemen to Ethiopia or Abyssinia? They have a difference of opinion on this subject. Nonetheless, it seems as though the strongest opinion is that Arabic the origin of it is Yemen. Because in that hadith, it says that Ismail learned Arabic from them, from his wife's tribe. That Ismail learned Arabic from his wife's tribe, the tribe of Jurhum. And we know that there are 2 types of Arabs. There are 2 types of Arabs. The first type are called Al-Arabu Al-Ariba. Al-Arabu Al-Ariba. And the other ones are called Al-Arabu Al-Musta'riba. The first, Al-Arabu Al-Ariba, are the ones who are pure Arabs. They're pure Arabs. And their language, of course, is Arabic. They're pure Arabs in their language, in their culture, in their customs, and their mores, everything. They think Arabic, talk Arabic, live the Arabic culture. We're not talking about the Arabic languages specifically. We're talking about everything together. Everything about them is purely Arabic, meaning no other language was their language, and then they learned Arabic, which is the second type of Arab, which is Ismail. Al-Arab al-Musta'riba are the ones who become Arabs. Their culture becomes Arabic. Their language becomes Arabic, but originally they were not Arabs. And for those brothers who are sitting here who are Arabs, I know at least one is sitting here who's an Arab. They'll all tell you that their language, their Arabic, the dialect they speak, is the best one and the closest one to Fusha. The Egyptians say it, the Palestinians say it, the Jordanians, they say it, the Syrians say it, the Saudis say it, the Kuwaitis, all of them say, no, our Arabic is the one that's closest to Fusha. Our Arabic is the one that's the purest. Only Allah knows best. Only Allah knows best which one is closest to the Fusha, but it would seem as though that the people from Yemen, by virtue of the fact that this is where it comes from, it would seem as though that their slang dialect is closest, and Allah knows best. This is debatable, and it probably will be debated until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Anyway, the Arabic language is a Semitic language, like those other languages which we mentioned. And it's based on a three-letter root. It's based on a three-letter root. This is one of the unique features of the Arabic language. There are some occasions, you'll learn this at Markaz al-Bayan, or wherever, once again, you're studying Arabic. Even if you go to the University of Pennsylvania here, which they have a very nice Arabic program, from what I've seen. And many colleges are like that in universities in America. They have very nice Arabic programs, even though all of them are lacking in something. But there comes a case sometimes where the Arabic words have 4 letters in the roots. And even 5 letters in the roots. But originally, the Arabic language is a 3-letter root. Like for instance, we find the word madhab, which most of us are probably familiar with. Say his madhab is Hanafi, or his madhab is Maliki, or his madhab is Shafi'i, or his madhab is Hanbali. The word madhab comes from an Arabic verb with 3 letters, dhahaba. This is one of the first words you learn at Markaz al-Bayan. Dhahaba. Dhahaba Ahmadu ila Makkata. Ahmad went to Mecca. Dhahaba means to go. And the word dhahabun means gold. Same root. So the word madhab comes from these 3 letters. Comes from these 3 letters. And someone may ask the question, how does the word madhab, how is that related to the word to go? Or he went? That's another question that you can ask the people at Markaz al-Bayan. Inshallah. The Arabic language is composed of different sciences. And the people of the Arabic language, the scholars that is, of the Arabic language, they say that when someone learns Arabic, he has to understand, or she has to understand in the fact that they have to learn those 3 sciences, those 3 basic sciences. Because in Arabic, there are approximately 10 to 12 sciences, Arabic disciplines, individual Arabic disciplines. For us in America, we usually think there's only one. We think that there's only one, which is an-nahu, grammar. The average American Muslim, when they start learning Arabic, that's all they're concerned with is grammar. But there are approximately 10, 11, or maybe 11 more sciences other than grammar. The ones that we're concerned with for the goal that we have are 3. 3 out of the 11 or 10 or 12. There are 3. Just 3. Those are the ones we're concerned with. Because what we're concerned with is learning how to read the Quran and understand what Allah is saying in the Quran, and understand the books of tafsir, and understand the books that explain the hadith. this is our goal, so we can get close to Allah. We're not really that concerned with the other 10 or 11 or 9 or 10 branches or sciences. As for an-nahu, which is commonly translated as grammar, nahu means the study of the language and the various rules that govern the words when they appear in the sentence. This is the basic meaning of a nahu. It means the study of the language and the various rules governing the words as they appear in a sentence. I remember when I was doing grammar classes, that is teaching grammar classes, a technique that I thought about to help people understand what this means is, for instance, you have a sentence and an agent comes into the room. The sentence is like a room. And an agent comes in, like a secret agent. This is what I tell the people in the class. A secret agent comes into the room, which is the sentence. And he takes out his gun and he shoots a word. And depending upon what type of agent he is, if he shoots that word will have a fatha on the end of it, or a kasra on the end of it. But depending upon what type of agent and gun he has, he may not have any effect when he shoots that word in that room. That agent won't have any effect, and that word at the end of it will remain with a dhamma or dhammatain. This is the way I used to explain it to people. So there's something that comes into the sentence that has an effect on the words and the endings of the words. This is what you hear when you study at Markaz al-Bayan called i'rab, which is the changes of the endings of the word and how they appear in the sentence, in the beginning, in the middle, in the end. This is primarily the issue of an-nahu, the issue of an-nahu, which is commonly called grammar. As for the second discipline out of the three that we need to learn when studying Arabic, the second discipline is called as-sarf. As-sarf. The first one is an-nahu, which we call commonly grammar. We've already mentioned that. The second one is called sarf, with a sad. Not sarf with a sin, but sarf with a sad. This usually is translated as morphology. Morphology. And for most of us, unless we've studied linguistics or English in college, then we're not going to know what morphology is. Just like when we study Arabic from the English perspective, we don't know what nominative is, and accusative is, and genitive is, and Joseph case. We don't know these things. That's why it's better to study Arabic in Arabic. It's better to study in Arabic. So sarf, they usually translate it as morphology. But the actual meaning of sarf means the metamorphizing or changing the root, the base root of the word to many different examples to achieve meanings that couldn't be otherwise achieved. That couldn't be otherwise achieved. So the science of sarf is mostly dealing with verbs and those things which derives from those verbs. And the change that you have in those morphological changes, or those sarfi changes, that change that comes about is done to stretch the meaning and to make the pronunciation of those words easy on the tongue. For example, we have the verb kataba. Kataba. So when you're dealing with the issue of sarf, this is not grammar. This is the second of the three disciplines or science. You have the verb kataba. Kaf, ta, ba. From that word, with the science of sarf, you can have a variety. In fact, almost endless words can be derived. You have from kataba, maktub, kitab, katib, kitaba, kutab. All of these words and more come from that general root, kataba. Those changes in the word is called sarf. To give you a clearer example, inshallah, in English we have the word foot, F-O-O-T. If you wanted to make a sarfi change of that word, take out the two O's and put in two E's. Feet. It's still basically talking about the same thing. But by taking out the two O's and putting in two E's, you change it from singular to plural. Foot, feet. So there was some type of structural change in the actual word. Brothers and sisters, barakallahu feekum, sarf is extremely important in learning Arabic. Extremely important. And from my experience, wallahu musta'an, when I began studying Arabic, and I say wallahu musta'an because I started studying Arabic in 1976 without a teacher. And that's not the way to go. That is not the way to learn Arabic by yourself. Even though we have some people who have excelled and have made serious advancements studying by themselves. But it is not the way to go. In fact, it can be dangerous. It can be very dangerous. The point that we want to make is that when I began studying in 1976, teaching myself Arabic, I didn't learn sarf. And sarf is essential to learn while you're learning nahu. You have to learn sarf along with the nahu together. Don't learn nahu or grammar by itself. You have to learn sarf together with the nahu, because this is going to strengthen your understanding of what you read. The third science that has to be learned for us, that has to be learned for us who are in America or wherever we may live in non-Arab countries, and we're trying to learn the Arabic language so that we can get to know who Allah is and what Allah is saying in His book, which is a book that is Arabic and no other language. Even though the scholars of Islam and the scholars of the language differ on the Arabic words in the Quran, some words are not originally Arabic. That's another discussion altogether. And it's true, because there's some words in the Quran that are not Arabic, but they are Arabic. They're not Arabic, but they are Arabic, because they're in the Quran. And Allah says this is the Arabic Quran. Qur'anan Arabiyan. And Arabiyan Mubin. It's an Arabic Quran. So even if there are some words like Jibt and Taghut, whose origin are not from Arabic, or like Sirat and Sirat al-Mustaqim, which is not originally Arabic, even though it comes from other languages, because it is in the Quran, and Allah says that this is an Arabic Quran, it is Arabic. Why? It's because, as Ibn al-Jurrum said, and the Arab linguist after him and before him said, Al-Kalam huwa al-lafzu al-murakkabu al-mufidu bil-wadi'. Al-Kalam huwa al-lafzu al-murakkabu al-mufidu bil-wadi'. That speech is a love, number one. Al-Murakkab, Al-Mufid, Bil-Wadi'. Bil-Wadi' means it has to be with Arabic letters. It has to be with Arabic letters. So, with the study of sarf, you learn the structural changes of the word. And that third science or discipline that we have to know to get close to Allah, to know what Allah is intending for us to understand, is called al-balagha. It's called al-balagha. So we have to know nahu, we have to learn as-sarf, and we have to learn al-balagha. The other 9 or 10 or 11 sciences, we don't have to deal with that, inshallah, because we have a different goal. Al-balagha is the science dealing with the rhetorical eloquence of the Arabic language and how it's to be conveyed properly. How the meanings are to be conveyed properly according to the situation. According to the situation. They call it in English rhetorical eloquence, but that doesn't help us. Those long, big phrases and words don't help us. Rhetorical eloquence. And if you ask the average Arab, if you say to him, do you know rhetorical eloquence? He's not going to know what you're talking about. But if you ask him, do you understand balagha? He's going to know what you're talking about. Even if he hasn't studied balagha, he's going to know what you're talking about if you say balagha. Because he's an Arab. It's his language. In general. In general. English has some forms of balagha, but it's not like Arabic. It's not like the Arabic language. The balagha of the Arabic language is very, very precise and very beautiful. Balagha also deals with the meanings of the words, and they take shape in different stages and in different usages in the sentence. Also, balagha is essential in totally or fully understanding the miraculous nature of the Quran. There's something called i'jaz, the i'jaz of the Quran. The i'jaz of the Quran means the inimitability of the Quran, that the Quran can't be imitated. The Quran cannot be imitated because of the i'jaz, because of the miraculous nature. It can't be imitated. It's inimitable. No one, jinn, angel, or man, can bring anything like the Quran. It's very easy for Chaucer, for those who studied English in college or in high school, you remember Chaucer, or Shakespeare, or any of those great Englishmen or English scholars. Very easy for any one of those people to duplicate or even beat, say he, Allah is one. Allah is independent, upon whom we all depend. He neither begets nor is he begotten, and there's nothing comparable to him. You probably can get one of these rappers to do better than that. They can match that or beat that right on the spot without fixing their rhymes before it. They can probably do it right on the spot. But no one is going to be able to come with something like قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. No one. Because that's the speech of Allah. And it is miraculous in its nature. Those 4 verses are a miracle. It may not seem like that to you or me, who are not Arabs. But when the Arab, even an ignorant Arab, when he hears قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ, he's going to say, even if he's ignorant, there's no way a human being could have said that. And that's why when the Arabs in the time of the Prophet ﷺ used to try to match the Quran and make up poetry to try to compete with the Quran, one of them, who was a very famous poet, he used to try to match the Quran. And if you were to listen to some of those things he used to make up, just now after being Muslims in America, listening to it, you can say, that's not the Quran. It's clear that that's not the Quran, because your ear has been accustomed to the Quran. So balagha is that which brings us the understanding of what is intended in the Quran and also in the language itself. These are the three things that is necessary for us to learn. As for the course that we need to take, the first thing that we need to know, and we need to deeply consider, is that you have to understand Arabic in Arabic. You have to understand Arabic in Arabic. Translating is a downfall. Translating Arabic is a downfall. What we mean by translating, we mean by that is looking at the Arabic, then going to look up the words in English. This is going to set you back. It's going to keep you back. And you're not going to be able to understand the language if you continue to do that. But rather, when you're studying the Arabic language, for instance, when you're utilizing the dictionary that you should be utilizing is an Arabic dictionary with no English. Now that may seem like, you're going against what the goal is. But the goal is to learn Arabic, not English. So if you really want to learn Arabic, then you have to learn and understand Arabic in Arabic. And we'll give some examples for that later, inshallah, if we have the time. The second thing we need to know is that the traditional method of learning Arabic has already been tested. And there's no need for new ways to learning the lugha, the Arabic language. You can go on the internet and some people will say a new method, $69.95, PayPal. You can use your bank card, your Mac card or whatever. Buy it now. It's a new method. 25 CDs, 3 books, instructional guides, study guide, new ways to learn Arabic. Once again, I began learning Arabic in 1976. I can't even tell you how many books have been put out in the United States or in England combined on trying to learn the Arabic language, and every single person, including the person who you're listening to right now, is still learning Arabic because they didn't start out properly. Every single brother and sister I know from 1976 and before I became a Muslim in the 60s, they're still learning Arabic. Why? It's because they didn't learn Arabic from the proper sources and the methodology that the Salaf left for us. That is the Imams of the Salaf. And they always tried to use a new way. I remember in the 70s, the book that was most popular, there were 2 books that were most popular for people to learn Arabic. One is what we call Kapalawaski. Kapalawaski. For those brothers who started studying Arabic around my time, around my age, they remember it. There's 4 books, Kapalawaski. I still have them in my house. They're written by Jews. And they're very good. They're very good. And in the beginning of the first book, they tell you the reason why they teach Arabic at that Arabic Institute there in Jerusalem. This is the book. It was published in 1928. And they said, and the last publishing I think was around 1940 or 45 or 52. And they said, we have developed this program to tap the Arab press. To tap the Arab press. So we find brothers starting with those books. Or the big orange books. This is what we call them in America. The orange books from Michigan Press. It used to be Michigan Press. The point is that there's no new way to learn Arabic. The way to learn Arabic has already been tested and tried. You don't have to worry about a new developed way. We already have the ways to learn Arabic. Also, we need to know that there's no one book that's going to teach you every single thing you need to know. You won't find one book, brothers. Forget it. It doesn't exist. The other thing that we need to know is that Arabic is difficult in the beginning. But as you go through your lessons and apply yourself, then Arabic becomes easy. Don't let the Arabs deceive you when they tell you Arabic is difficult. It's not difficult. It's very easy. And you can become a master of the Arabic language in America. You don't have to leave. It's good to leave. It's better to be in the land of the Arabs, but you can master Arabic in America, in Philadelphia, without leaving the United States. It's very possible. And there are many people, too many to count, who mastered the Arabic language and understand it as well or better than the Arabs who weren't Arabs. Example, Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahullah, was not an Arab. He was not an Arab. It's debatable if Imam Muslim was an Arab. Abu Daawud, Imam al-Tirmidhi. We can go on and on. There's a big, huge dictionary / lexicon. Huge book. I don't know how many volumes. Maybe 15 volumes, 20 volumes, called Lisan al-Arab. Very famous dictionary. Maybe 15 volumes. I can't remember. Lisan al-Arab is one of the best books you can get, dictionaries on the Arabic language. Goes halfway across this long table, or maybe a little bit less than halfway across this table in length. It was written by a non-Arab. It was compiled by an African, Al-Afriqi, Ibn Manzur Al-Afriqi. He was African. His language is not Arabic. And all of the Arab scholars and non-scholars, they depend on Lisan al-Arab. And they quote Lisan al-Arab, but it was written by someone who wasn't Arab. You can go to Indonesia finding people mastering Arabic. Go to Nigeria. I don't know how many people I've met from Nigeria or Ghana that have mastered the Arabic language, and that's not their language. So don't be fooled into thinking because you're American that you can't learn the Arabic language. Also, you have to understand that you have to take everything of those three sciences that we mentioned, al-Nahu, al-Sarf, and al-Balagha. As for the books that are recommended by the ulama for this difficult in the beginning language to study and easy at the end, like Shaykh al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he says, studying the Arabic language is like a house. The door of it is made from iron. He said, but the interior of the house is sugarcane. He said, it's difficult to get into the house in the beginning. But once you get into the house is made of sugarcane. It becomes real easy. The scholars of Islam in our present day time, and the scholars who came before them, and the scholars who came before them, and the scholars who came before them, they say almost in total agreement from what I've seen that the book that is suggested to learn an-Nahu from, Arabic grammar, the book that is suggested is the book called Al-Ajrumiyyah. Al-Ajrumiyyah. This is the book that they all recommend to study, to start from. Al-Ajrumiyyah by Ibn Ajrum. And they say that the explanation of that book, to begin with, is called Tuhfa al-Thaniyya. Tuhfa al-Thaniyya, which is an explanation of Al-Ajrumiyyah. This doesn't mean that you can't start with the Medina books or any of the other books that are available. But the books that the scholars of Ahl Sunnah recommend is Al-Ajrumiyyah. That's the book they suggest, and this is the book that I suggest. Because we follow the way of the ulama, not saying you can't start with the Medina books, but the Medina books are not enough. They're not enough. In addition to that, these are some guidelines that need to be followed, or that should be followed. And you can put them in any order because this is not in any special order, inshallah ta'ala. You should try to listen to the Quran and try to understand the Quran when you listen to it. This is key in learning the Arabic language. Try to listen to the Quran and try to understand what is being said when you listen to the Quran. Because the Quran is Arabic and it is the speech of Allah, uncreated. It is the speech of Allah and it is uncreated. So if you listen to the Quran, trying to understand what's being said, this will help tremendously. Because the Quran is the #1 source for the Arabic language and those who are trying to study it. It's the #1 source. And you'll find that even people who memorize the Quran that don't know an-nahu, and they don't know as-sarf, and they don't know balagha, people who when they begin, those same people, when they begin to start studying those sciences, they grasp it better and have a better understanding than the person who didn't memorize the Quran. Because all those words and those phrases that they're now going to, oh yeah, wow, yeah, that's this verse, and that's this, and that's that. And it starts to come together easier than the person who didn't memorize the Quran. Also, as we mentioned, we shouldn't be like the people who try to translate everything into their own language. Because this is going to take a lot of time, and it's better to understand the Arabic in Arabic. So for instance, if you have an Arabic dictionary, Arabic, of course you're going to have to utilize an English dictionary, and the preferred one, of course for us in America, is Hans Ware. That's the preferred one. That's the one that's most popular. There are others, but that's the one that's most popular. The recommended, this is from me, this is not from the ulama, this is from me. The recommended dictionary to use, I suggest, from my hit and miss study of Arabic, my trial and error study of Arabic, I would suggest, through the years that I've been doing it, the best dictionary to get, to carry with you, to study, is called Ra'id at-Tullab. Ra'id at-Tullab. Ra'id at-Tullab. There's a bigger version called Ar-Ra'id by the same person. But the smaller version, that's about the size of this mushaf in height, and it's about this thick, but it's this size, the size of this mushaf. Ra'id al-Tullab. And you can get it here in America. You can buy it in America, inshallah. Don't ask me where, but I know it's here. Inshallah, we may be able to find it for those who want to study it. That book, Ra'id al-Tullab, is one of the best dictionaries for a beginner. You're going to have to, in the beginning, have Hans Ware with it. Because the book is Arabic. But you should not depend on the English dictionary in translating the definition. Because the reason why we're saying studying Arabic, losing an Arabic dictionary, is because when you go to the Arabic English dictionary, it'll just give you the definition, but it won't give you the meaning. There's a difference between the definition of the word and the meaning of the word. The Arabic dictionary will teach you the meaning of the word with the definition. The Arabic English dictionary will only give you the definition. It won't give you the meaning. It will not give you the meaning. I'll give you an example, and we gave this example in some classes in the masjid. For those of you who probably remember, and I'm sure maybe some of you sitting here will remember, that mat that you put on the floor, that you're about to eat your food with, the Arabs now call it sufra. They call it sufra. But the original word for that mat that you put on the floor, in America, the American Muslims call it ma'idah. We call it Ma'idah. We mispronounce it. But it's called Ma'idah. Like Surah Ma'idah. That mat that you put on the floor is called khiwan or khuwan. It's called khiwan or khuwan. More properly, khuwan. That mat that you put on the floor is called khuwan. That mat, that same khuwan, when you put on the floor and you put food on it, is now called ma'idah. If you take the food off, no food, it's called khuwan. The same mat. And this is the way of the Arabic language. The subtleties of the language is like this. If you go to the dictionary that's Arabic English and you look up khuwan, for instance, it's going to say tablecloth or the mat which you put the food on. If you look up the word ma'idah, it may tell you the same thing. So you'll think that it's synonyms, that those two words are synonyms, but they're not synonyms. They're not. Like the word dalu. Del, lam, wow. Dalu. Dalu is a bucket, but so is dhanoob. A dhanoob is a bucket also. But how do you know the difference between dhanoob and dalu? If you go to the Arabic English dictionary, it won't tell you. It'll just say bucket or container with water. But if you go to the Arabic dictionary, it's going to be very definitive in the meaning. In the meaning. This is why we say you have to study Arabic in Arabic. When you use a dictionary, use it Arabic and Arabic to Arabic, using the hands where initially, but you have to try to divorce yourself from the Arabic English dictionary and depend only on the Arabic dictionary. In addition to this, in studying Arabic, you should, when you read a word, you should underline that word in the dictionary, make a note of it, so that you'll be able to use it in the context that it was used in the example in the dictionary. Even if you have to use an index card or a place card, write that word down and try to utilize it as much as possible. Building vocabulary is essential in Arabic, but it's not the end. Just knowing a whole lot of words won't work, because words in Arabic change their meanings. They change their meanings with regards to the context. With regards to the context. Another dictionary that could be employed or could be used is called Mu'jam al-Wasit. Mu'jam al-Wasit. Mu'jam al-Wasit. This is a very good dictionary. But the problem with that dictionary is that it's big. It's bulky. So this is the one you're going to leave at home. And Ra'id al-Tullab is the one you're going to carry with you in your car or in your bookcase. But Mu'jam al-Wasit is a very good dictionary. Arabic to Arabic. Also, you have to read as much as you can in Arabic. Read the Quran, read the Hadith, read children's stories. Reading children's stories, stories of the prophets, for instance, stories of the companions that are geared for children. Try to read them as much as possible. And any new word you come across, once again, you go back to the Arabic dictionary. You underline it, highlight it, circle it, or whatever, and you go back to the Arabic dictionary to see the meaning, inshallah. But you have to read as much as you can. Read as much as you can. Also, you have to develop your ear. You have to develop your ear. So, listen if you can to Arabic stations on the radio. If you have a shortwave radio, then listen to Arabic stations. Especially the news. And try to be around the Arabs as much as possible. To listen to the language. Even if it's the slang language. Still, they're going to be using words, many of the words, even in their slang. They're going to be using many of the words that are going to be found in the Quran or found in the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ or in general Arabic. Please forgive me if you're Moroccan. we're excluding the Moroccans. We're excluding the Moroccans. Because with the Moroccan dialect, there are a lot of things that are not Arabic. It's very difficult. So if you find a Moroccan brother who will speak Fusha with you, this is better. Walillahi alhamd, because many of the people who have excelled in the Arabic language come from Morocco. But the dialect of the Moroccans is one you should try not to get involved in. As for the other Arabs, okay. But please forgive me, Moroccan brothers or sisters that are listening. Please forgive me. This is not to talk bad about you or your culture or your language. But this is a fact and it's a reality, and I'm sure you'll agree. Because in the Arabic of the Moroccans, they have Berber, they have French, they have all these different things inside of it. Also, and we're going to end it here inshallah because we have some obligations at the masjid. We also should know that sticking with those people who are students of knowledge, those people who are students of knowledge, who understand the Arabic language, sticking with them and asking them and trying to get them to assist you is very important, inshallah, in studying the Arabic language. And lastly, inshallah, and we won't be able to have time for any questions, please forgive me. Lastly, remember what we said firstly, is that the goal is to understand the book of Allah. That is the goal. The goal is to understand the book of Allah, to understand that which Allah intended for us to understand in the Quran, and to understand the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that we can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so that we can be those who worship Allah in a state of taqwa. Because having knowledge of the Arabic language